Welcome to The Prize Inside. The Prize Inside. A chiropractor's journey in everyday holistic health and vitality. Here, your host, Dr. Jeremy Myers, delves into the remarkable journeys of everyday people who have embraced the path to health and healing. Through his practice, Dr. Jeremy encounters inspiring stories of profound transformation and the power of true healing within each of us. Stay tuned as we discuss various holistic topics and unlock the healing potential that lies within us all.
All right, welcome all my 1%ers. Hopefully you guys are having a good night tonight. The Lions won, so that was kind of cool. Beautiful day out in the Michigan. We weren't sure if we are going to start getting chilly out, but it's actually worked out pretty good. So with that said, this one is based on love. Tonight's podcast is based on love. Let me make sure okay, we're good. All right. So this podcast is all about it's something that was very interesting. Dr. Rachel, who you all know and love, we decided this year, because our kids don't have as many things, we usually get our leaves kind of done for us, right? And we're like, the amount of stuff we've noticed in, like just yard work, sometimes getting your leaves done, we could use them in different aspects of gardening. So we can use the piles and kind of make our soil better. So we're like, all right, let's try to do it ourselves. And last year we did a little bit, it wasn't too terrible. Wind took, half of it. We live out in the farm country. So a lot of times you have, these kind of situations happen where your base, it just blows off into the sunset. Well, this year we got a bigger leaf blower and we got our piles going like crazy. And because we got this nice, sweet backpack leaf blower, Rachel, of course, how she does things, she goes all out the entire time. So she'll do it for like hours and hours. Well, something remarkable happened to her. She got her first fall seasonal allergies based on these leaves. She didn't know if she gets headaches from time to time, and this was not her normal headache. And so it was one that just put her on the ground. She had never had this type of headache before. And we finally deduced that it was when you kick up all those leaves, if your sinuses are a problem, then that's the issue. So a lot of times you can fill your sinuses with all kinds of gunk from these leaves and everything else. So we finally deduced that, even though it knocked her out for, several days. So she's doing better now. Some of the stuff, if you remember also the stinging nettle that talk we did of, like, I think it was last Sunday, we did stinging nettle. Stinging nettle is a really good antihistamine, natural antihistamine. And so what you want to do is make sure that you watch those videos. So I'm at 70. I got to get up. In my Rumble channel up. So I'm at 70 people in my Rumble channel. So I'm going to put these in there. If you go to Rumble, it's an app just like YouTube, and you download that app and you look up Prize Inside, or you hook to this. I'll put it in the link below. So we're at Rumble. Okay. So we're also at YouTube. YouTube's fantastic. I'd love to be up there in the YouTube. That would change the game. However, I don't know how. And I'd rather do the content until it gets there, once Joe Rogan sees me, or, those kind of things. Okay. The other one that I want to make sure you guys know is the podcast. Okay. So the podcast is where you can find that on all of them, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to podcasts. And I really would promote, if some of you, so podcasting isn't just for kids. Okay. There is a lot of good content on podcasting, folks. Remember how, as you were older, weren't sure about technology, and then now it's my older crowd that uses Facebook quite a bit. Podcasting can be that for you as well. Is you got to find those interests, like YouTube, and I don't mean this bad, but most of the time the tech kids are like about 10 years ahead of us in what they're on, right? So for me, that's why I went and got this like streaming, stuff, so I can figure out where everybody's at. Also X, I'm on there as well as Jeremy Myers 2, so you can watch there as well. And then I have one more I want to tell you about for my podcast audience. If you ever want the email version of these, or like when we go live, it's called tribe1.substack.com, tribe1.substack.com. We'll get you on our email list, and you're only going to get contacted when we're doing these, or if I have recorded ones. Okay. So with that said, we would like to, so now that I've gone through all that, let's go into our talk tonight. Our talk tonight is called Breathe Easy Again, Natural Ways to Drain Your Sinuses and End the Pressure. Okay. So there's going to be several that you've never heard of and a couple that you may have. So with that said, let's dive right in. All right, here we go. What are we going to go over tonight? Some surprising spinal sinus connections most doctors miss, herbs that make your sinuses breathe easier, how forward head posture actually silently blocks sinus drainage, and how to fix it. And then some gentle chiropractic as well as self-care methods that maybe you've heard of before that can clear that pressure. Okay. So that's where we're at. All right. So let's start with the first one. Okay. So this one's pretty wild. There is a sinus-spinous connection. The spine is connected to your sinuses. Okay. And the way that occurs is there's several different aspects to that. So so we're going to go through that. Okay. So what I mean by that is the vertebrae of your body. There is a chiropractic answer to what is happening. Okay. So I want you to understand that when we go forward, because this is the part that changed my life in a sense. I used to have a horrible fall allergy until I started getting adjusted on a regular basis. When I started getting adjusted on a regular basis, magic to me, and if you could listen to me, it's not that I have this beautiful voice, that I have a very nasally sounding voice, and I almost have no sinus issues at all. And one of the reasons is gut health, right? We'll talk about that, making sure your immune system's going in the right direction. But in the chiropractic part, when I started getting adjusted on a regular basis, it changed my world. And so that's where we want to talk about it. All right. And as we go, if you have any questions, throw it in the comments wherever you're watching at. I have a few people watching, so I think I can get everybody's comments on there. So if you have any, let me know. Thumbs up, hearts, that always is helpful too. All right, here we go. So your sinuses don't drain in isolation. They depend on gravity, movement, and proper nerve and muscle function from your neck and your upper back. When something goes wrong in the upper cervical spine, the 2 or 3 vertebrae at the very top, it can directly contribute to sinus congestion, facial pressure, recurring infections, and even headaches that feel exactly like sinus headaches. Okay. So here's how it happens. You get some nerve irritation from the control panel. So you get nerve irritation that occurs in your upper neck. The upper cervical nerves between C1 and C3 usually, and the vagus nerve, which we will talk about sometime, is the blood vessel dilation constriction in the head and sinuses, mucus production, and ciliary movement. So remember how mucus has little ciliary, or like the little hairs. Okay. So the little hairs that you need to kind of be in flow. lymphatic drainage and from the head and face. All of those things have to do and having proper nerve function in your neck and your upper back are critical, okay, for this exact reason. When those vertebrae are slightly off, right, or what we call subluxated, like through car accidents, poor posture, forehead texting, all those kind of things, the nerves can get irritated. The sinuses then aren't allowed to function correctly. They stay swollen, mucus gets thicker, and the drainage slows or stops. Poor lymphatic and venous drainage. So if your forward head posture, we'll go through this too. The main drainage pipes for your sinuses is what they call the internal jugular veins and the lymphatic vessels that run right through your neck between your skull and your collarbones. So we'll look at this real quick. So all your sinuses drain between here and this collarbone. So it's coming through here. So a lot of times you'll hear about people massaging down, right? Really light massage that comes down. In fact, there's massage techniques now that do lymph drainage for your entire body. And what they're finding is the sinuses, you can do a nice little massage. That's one very nice thing. Let's say you get sinus or spring allergies, understanding how to discern it, right? Which area do you have the issues in, right? Sometimes you can have winter, whatever it is, right? So whenever that time is for you, a nice really light lymphatic drain massage, very easy. Breathing patterns, right? Because what happens a lot of times is our head posture, right? Our head posture is supposed to be, your ears are directly, if you can kind of visualize it, should be over your shoulders. Okay. If your ears are actually ahead or way in front of your shoulders, you've restricted a lot of that movement pattern that I just said from below your ears to, like, let's say the front of your collarbones. What's happening currently is we're getting so much constriction in that area that we're not having good luck, getting rid of the drainage in the sinuses. It all works for a reason. You need all those muscles to, do what they're supposed to do. And so part of, your neck being irritated and off is not only the nerve interferences that occur and cause funky situations around your head. This is where all the headache like let's say a migraine headache. The reason chiropractic works so well is because of irritated nerves, mechanics, when all the muscles are freaking out. So you got to always remember your head is like, my favorite analogy is a bowling ball on a stick, a very thin stick. And if I had a bowling ball, I'd want to make sure that I have a lot of support systems. And so you have a ton of muscles up there, 20 or more muscles that are trying to keep this head perfectly balanced on a stick, right? Or this bowling ball on a stick. So if one is off on one side or the other, then you're going to end up with tightness throughout. When you end up with tightness throughout, are you able to flow? Are you able to actually flow through and see, get the sinuses drained? That's why chiropractic's so effective in getting your neck and in the forward head posture, getting that fixed is so much more effective in the sinus thing. And no one thinks about that one. No one thinks about that. That's why we're spending so much time on it now, because it's like one of the biggest first steps prior to herbs, prior to just draining them, right? It's great that, like, we're going to go through one that's how to do a neti pot. But if your sinuses are always the same way because you have this chronic causation, we always are looking for the cause problem, right? And one of the major causes is spinal misalignment. And not letting the nerves and the muscles of your face freely flow like nature wants it to be. Okay. So there's that. So forward head posture or tight neck muscles compress the vessels that take the sinus gunk away, right? So that's one of the problems. Are those forward those areas? That's one reason it's happening. So when you aren't able to get rid of the fluid, right, the mucus and stuff, it'll start to back up into your maxillary, your frontal, and your sphenoid sinuses all over, and it creates a full head feeling. All right. So here's a little bit more. This muscle tension and eustachian tube dysfunction. This one's critical to understanding. Tight suboccipital muscles. So when we talk about that, the suboccipital is the back of your head. Okay. So remember those tight, tensiony headaches in the back of your head? Those are critical. So if you ever get one, this one, most of my males, when they come in, they usually have this like tension headache that's usually located kind of in the back, and then it'll go forward. Women, there's some other things going on there. But that's typically, if a guy's going to have a headache, that's where it's going to be. Well, there's a ton of fluids that kind of come through there. So if you have tight suboccipital muscles and these scalenes, which is your upper back and neck, they pull on the skull, and it causes, this is crazy, but it's true. You actually get your eustachian tube. Hopefully, put in the comments if you know what the eustachian tube is, your ear tube. So, and your soft palate. Actually, all of those things start becoming affected. Okay. This is one reason why sleep apnea is very affected by forward head posture and all the imbalances of these muscles in your head. Now, we can't say, oh man, if you get adjusted, sleep apnea goes away. Dear Lord, you'd never be able to get into me. If that was true, we're still trying to figure out why. So one of these days, we're going to figure that out. So that's why, but that is one reason why so many chronic sinus sufferers feel ear fullness all the time. They hear the popping post-nasal drip that never ends. Okay. It's the muscle tension. It not only affects your sinuses, but you're also talking your eustachian tube. Okay. So you're hearing. Not great. This is one reason why chiropractic and earaches or ear infections is so critically important. It's one of the biggest, like on top of gut health, where it's probiotic, antibiotic, all those kind of things. Making sure your gut health is correct. Why is one of the biggest areas in chiropractic is earaches in kids? Well, the reason that is because of the imbalance of that upper neck when the infant is trying to learn to walk, and the amount of falls. If that neck isn't working properly, the imbalance of your face. So think of your whole head. It has a right and a left to it, right? So we have muscles on either side. We just have to, they're just so much more minute than your left and right hamstring. You're going to notice that. But how are you going to notice your right and left suboccipital muscles? Not necessarily. So that's where the imbalance comes in. That's where, as 1% tribers, though, maybe we're doing some stretches that like feel that out, and you can feel, hey, this one is in balance compared to the other, right? So that's pretty good. Okay, so here's the other reason the upper neck and the nervous system is a thing. That sympathetic fight or flight response, which you all know. The upper cervical misaligns can keep you in a sympathetic nervous system stuck in overdrive. Okay, so if you're off, you have a headache, your fight or flight mechanism's going crazy. One of the side effects is once you get into fight or flight, what happens? Your arteries constrict. If your arteries constrict, that means you're not pushing as much fluid. You're pushing fluid through faster, but not as much. So then your nasal passages will get clogged up. That is the perfect recipe for recurrent sinus problems. All right. So there is, I think that's all I got on that. Oh, no, we got to talk about this. So let's keep going on the forward head posture part, and then we'll get into the really fun stuff. Okay. Every inch your head creeps forward. Every inch. Okay. So if you take a picture of yourself and you took your ear away from your shoulder. So if you took a picture and your ear is ahead of your shoulder, okay, a side view, every inch ahead is 10 pounds extra weight, okay, on the stress of your neck. So, but the sinus problems comes from four mechanical and neurological things that can happen automatically when your head lives in front of your shoulders. It physically crushes the drainage pipes, so it pushes them down. The main highways to get all of your drainage fluid in through is basically that forward head posture. It locks up the sinus pump. We won't have to go through all that other stuff. It locks up the sinus pump. Normal head-on neck movements act as a gentle pump, so that head on, when we move our neck back and forth, up and down, all those things, it acts like a silent pump. And that lymph drainage is one of the big things. Okay. So it needs these pumps. Remember this, in lymph drainage situations, one of the biggest things is like, understand this, arteries have muscles, veins, and we use veins and the lymph system for drainage of these of the mucus and everything else. Well, the biggest thing is like they don't have muscle. So they're basically like straws with no pump action to them. You're the pump. That goes for the veins of your legs as well, guys. If we're not moving, we're not pumping. If we're not pumping, then the sinus stuff starts to get locked up pretty good. Stacy put this. I'm like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. That is true, probably true. And so I do have a video on a forward head posture. If you get on that Rumble one, if you look back, we can go. There's tons of exercises to do, but it's something, once you start focusing on it, you can do really well. A friend of mine, Chris, he was getting pretty significant forward head posture. And we talked about his neck started bothering him, but his job is a lot. He works on like guns and restoring guns and stuff. And so he is constantly looking down. And then you add that on top of phones and everything else. He started working on it. If you do something each and every day on your forward head posture, you can reverse it. And you will notice a massive difference in how you feel, especially allowing all that pumping action to work. Okay, so here's some more. It irritates the exact nerves. This is the other reason forward head posture sucks, is it irritates the exact nerves that control sinus behavior, the upper cervicals. Your occiput, your C1 and your C2 become inflamed and stiff. Those joints house the nerve roots in the sympathetic area that causes your nasal passages to get inflamed, creates runny and thick mucus, and also doesn't allow those little hair follicles to move like how they should. So the number one thing is, when you have a non-functioning neck, where it's not working properly, you're leading to a lot of other stuff, not just a little bit. Okay. So the other thing it does, it creates a vicious cycle of mouth breathing. Okay. And so I think we went into breathing last week, a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. So we went into breathing and trying to use nasal. That nasal breathing is a much better option versus mouth breathing. Nasal breathing allows most of your air to come in and out the nasal cavity, which is what nature really wants us to do, because that's where if you breathe in, through the nose, a lot of times that will, in effect, be your protective mechanism of all the bugs and bacteria or whatever are coming through the nasal passage. So a lot of times getting good at nasal breathing, which was 2 weeks ago, I think we did that, just to get good at that. You know what I mean? And once you do it a few times, it almost feels like you're not getting as much oxygen, because it's like they say the lazy man's way is mouth breathing versus going through your nose, getting in that pattern of doing that. and then you can exhale out your mouth. But the biggest thing is like, how much can you really kind of improve your pathway there? Okay, so let's talk about some of these. So now we're going to talk about just not only, chiropractic stuff, which we got on the soapbox there for a while, but general chiropractic care, which we know now why that it would be good. All right. But there's some self-care methods out there that are really, really good. And I'm going to teach you one. Dr. Geimer, bless his heart, taught me that was fantastic on top of the ones you kind of know. So we have the upper cervical and upper back neck chiropractic stuff. We have massage tools that we can use on the sinuses, self-massage, which we'll go over, cold laser. Cold laser is something that is very, very good. Dr. Matt knows it very well. Improving your sinuses and getting the action activated. Cold laser is essentially, it has a lot of different functions, but one of the best is it throws healing energy essentially into a joint. That's why it works so well with arthritis type joints. The cold laser and that's one reason we got it, was because it works so well in activating the cells you currently have into improving again. Sinuses are the same thing. When you get clogged up, when you get backups and all these things, because that's when it starts to notice, right? Is that you're not going to notice right like when everything's almost clear but a little full of gunk. It usually starts happening when the inflammation really comes in there. A lot of times the cold laser can throw some really good healing energy into those sinuses in various spots. So Dr. Matt knows quite a bit. I can't wait to try it. I keep watching him do it. It's this green blue laser we have, and he uses it on a regular basis on, understanding those sinuses and what you can do, because a lot of your immune system cells or glands can help that as well. So if you're having sinuses, sometimes the thymus and the thyroid gland are kind of a big deal as well. So you have to look at the whole picture if you're getting that sinus situation. Now, we're going to talk about some massage tools on the sinuses. And I'm going to tell you a disclaimer because you all are crazy. So, and I've watched the YouTube videos to prove it. Not all the time in our life is smashing everything a good idea. These YouTube, somebody was showing me a list of the AI videos of chiropractors like destroying people and all these good things. And granted, they are hilarious. So I'm not going to lie about that. Yes. So I'm going to show you one, Stacy, that's good. Now, in our office, most of you know that we have this thing called the Genie Rub. The Genie Rub is this big matted, it's got like a cushion on the one side and it vibrates pretty hard. There's quite a few ones out there, different muscle vibration muscle therapy tools, getting cheaper and cheaper all the time. The biggest thing is if we do this, you need to make sure you're on like the lowest setting possible. We're not trying to piss your sinuses off, people. We're trying to relax them. Okay. So more is not better. Well, Dr. Geimer had showed me with the Genie Rub that you can actually take it and go under the eye and into the forehead very, very well, picking and understanding you have a right and left sinus on either side of you, right? And doing one of these massages really gentle, but with that vibration. What happens when you push too much? When you push too much, and so now there's a lot of hand massagers that you can do that with. And it really, really is effective. In fact, most of the time it's so effective that you will start to drain right after you're done. The biggest thing, I'm going to put a disclaimer, don't do it too difficult, because what you're going to do is if you do it too much, remember, inflammation of sinuses is one of the problems. If you have too much inflammation in there, you're not going to drain anything and you're going to be causing your own problems. Okay. So we don't want to hurt our sinuses. We want to be really, really light when we do this, but it is something that you could do using a hand vibration tool and kind of go in there and very lightly hit your sinuses in a circular motion, kind of going down, right? So we want to just hit them and kind of go from the top of your skull down towards your eyeballs. And then in your nasal, you just want to kind of do little tiny baby circles in there. Okay. Super simple process. The problem is, like most of my population, we like TikTok videos that show you things that will hurt you. So do not do that. And if you have questions, call me. It'll be easy. Mr. Stacey says, is that the same as cold packs on your face and neck? Yes. So the reason cold packs work is because your sinuses are inflamed. So if your sinuses are inflamed, if your ankle's inflamed, you're going to put ice on it, right? So remember this always. If your sinuses are inflamed, that means there's no more room in there. So that's where it gets that full, heavy, oh my God, it feels like your head's going to explode type of feeling. And so what happens is, as you ice pack everything, you reduce the swelling, which allows space in that sinus and things start moving and flowing. It'd be a really smart move. I don't know if anybody's ever done this. Ice your face, right? And then use really gentle massage tool possibly to actually go in there and see how well that turns around. I think that would actually work really, really well. And some of these other things I'm going to show you in the herbal side as well. Okay, so self-massage. Self-massage is probably my favorite because you can do your own, right? You can just do your hand massage back and forth in little baby circles in all those different areas. And then look up the anatomy. I'll look it up for us. So for those that are watching, let's look. Image of the head. Okay. All right. Let me get a good view. Okay. This one's a pretty good one. Okay. So let me share my screen really quick. So this one's a pretty good video of it. So, oh man, maybe not. It's a little small on the screen, but you can see where. Let me go back. Let me get another good one. That one's kind of creepy. Okay, let's look at this guy. So this one is one of the frontal sinus areas, if you guys can see that. So these are the underneath the nose, or right, all through the nose, just above the eyes, close to the nose bridge, right? And then you have the two in your cheekbones. Okay. Now those aren't the only ones, because we also have sinuses inside our skull. We have this, we have a few different ones, but the biggest thing is these aren't huge cavities. Okay. Ooh, here's a good picture. Okay, here we go. This is a good side view of some sinus areas. Okay. So you can see your biggest ones are the cheek, those kind of things. Your frontal are actually not huge, but that makes it a big issue when you get one of those headaches from there, because if it gets filled up quick, it's curtains there. So yeah, these frontal sinuses aren't this big, huge area, right? But if we can do some little circles, understanding where those sinuses are, get that stuff flowing away from those sinuses. Okay. Hopefully that will help you a little bit. Cold laser we've talked about. And then the last one, a lot of people have heard of this, but I'm going to show you a video real quick on what a neti pot is. Okay. So you've heard people using neti pots. You might as well learn it and show you. It's not my favorite thing. I ain't going to lie. How to use this one should be good.
It's the Black Friday Blitz at Albion Motors Ford. Save with 0% APR financing for 60 months.
warm water. Pour your saline mix. Stir until dissolved. Little teacup liquid. Your head over. Pour the water into your nostril. Blow your nose. Let me see if I can find a better video than that. That was pretty good, but oh, I don't know if you need this much. Okay, hang on. He's going to explain it. We don't need a lot of explanation.
To get some of the sinus pressure to go forward. Exercises before. Now, some of the exercises that you can do before is something simple as kind of pressure points to the sinuses. Come in here, pushing in. You can kind of bend down and keeping your head in this position to get some of the sinus pressure to go forward so that when you take the neti pot and do the nasal irrigation, you'll be able to get rid of the congestion. One of the things you're going to need, in this case, I have the pre-made package, is a sinus. I like to put it into a cup or.
Sorry, guys, I haven't looked at
so
this.
I already heated my water up, and I'm going to just pour this in there. And what I like to do sometimes I'll test it. So this is actually a little warmer than I like. So you'll just let it, and I'll go in there and I'll let it sit for a little bit. So if this is a little bit warmer, so this mixture is already has.
I just want you to show you the process.
We do one pot on one side and then one pot on another side. And I always like to have some toilet paper or some sort of tissue paper right by, just so I can wipe my face if I need to, especially if you're really congested. It's a great way to just get rid of that real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just come here. I'm going to tilt my head. I'm going to put the neti pot up to the side here, and I'm going to tip my head like this. And it'll come out like this. Just letting it drain. And I like to just gonna blow one side. Normally I would do it all on one side and then do it the other. And just to show you the other way, I want to put it to my nose, tilt my head.
And it does work really well.
Good. So, all right.
Good. Okay. So you get the idea, right? Neti pots are pretty interesting. I've had a lot of good, people use them for years and years. So that if you've never used one, that's a really good one. I don't think I've ever used one, to be honest with you. I try to find I don't like stuff going up my nose, but people have like swore by those suckers. So there's a little solution that you can do within there to kind of clear it out. And sometimes that is a really, really good idea. Okay. So remember that neti pot situation, very cheap and very effective. Okay. So just remember all those ones, those manual massage techniques, using an instrument. You got these ones that beat on trigger points. Go really, really light though, guys. Don't hurt yourselves. It's not worth having worse sinus problems than before. Okay, so now this is what I want to talk about when we're going to get into the herbal side. Okay, so the herbal side, there's lots of options for this. This kind of opened my world up in this. And when your wife is dying of a sinus headache, then you start researching a little bit more. So this is now something I'm very comfortable with in the herbal world. So here is the first stuff. So this one that we've talked about, one of my videos is actually called anticatarrhals. Okay. What is an anticatarrhal? An anticatarrhal is something, usually a substance or remedy, that helps reduce or relieve catarrh, which is inflammation of the mucous membranes, often in the nose or throat, leading to excess mucus production. And in simpler terms, it's something that helps clear up stuffy noses or congestions caused by cold or allergies. Okay. So the cold, remember this too, in the flu, in pneumonia. It's all this like similar mucus. So sometimes anticatarrhals could be really, really good for a wide variety, and sinuses are actually no major difference there. Okay, so here is the first ones. Elderflower. Okay, that's different than elderberry. Elderflower. It's gentle, tastes good, and opens up dries sinuses out. Okay, so the elderflower is different. Elderberry has a lot more immune function to it. It's very, very good for a lot of immune situations, but it doesn't really consider an anticatarrhal. But the elderflower does. Same plant. Eyebright. Eyebright's well known in the herbal category. It's classic for watery eyes and runny nose that won't stop. Goldenrod. Goldenrod is a huge powerhouse for thick yellow-green congestion. So if you have some of that, you're sick, those kind of things, or if your sinuses are that bad, goldenrod could be a major one. Remember, some of these you might actually be allergic to, though. So you got to watch it, because like goldenrod and yarrow are two of those, because they're literally weeds that grow in Michigan. Yarrow has a very strong drying effect. It's great when everything feels wet. So sinus, like real wet sinusy. There's wet and there's dry, right? And so a lot of your sinus medicines are there to dry out your sinuses, because if you can get the dehydrate your sinuses out, your space goes better. Peppermint, surprisingly, which is really, really good one for even the massage part. So peppermint massage as well. Peppermint is a cooling, and it opens the passages while reducing the mucus, which is fantastic. Hyssop. Hyssop is really good. It's a herb that's widely used traditionally for lung and sinus clearing. Okay. And so this last one I hadn't heard, but it was interesting. Ground ivy, which is, I don't know. It's called Glaucoma herdeshi. It's old European favorite for chronic catarrhal or chronic mucus. Okay. So here is the herbs that makes your sinuses breathe easier. Okay. So this is where I want us to focus in on. Herbs that make your sinuses breathe easier. The top heavy hitters. Okay. So these are the biggest ones that are known. Stinging nettle. Okay. Butterbur. Turmeric and curcumin. Shocker. And bromelain. Shocker. So that top four. So listen to this. Stinging nettle. Butterbur, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then turmeric with curcumin, which is what we talk about with like making sure it has that with it. And then bromelain. One of our biggest best sellers in the world, supplement at the office that if I bring you in and you're coming in for back pain, I should have you on that every single day and just on a regular basis. It's called Inflicom. It has turmeric, ginger, bromelain, all of that in there with a little white willow bark. Phenomenal supplement. But stinging nettle, let's go through that. It's nature's strongest natural antihistamine. We went through that a couple videos ago. Patients notice clear breathing in 2 to 7 days. Best is free dries capsules or a very strong tea. So those two, capsules or a tea, are the best way of production. Butterbur. This one is interesting. It's clinically proven to work as well as Zyrtec with zero drowsiness, which is awesome. Reduces sinus inflammation and headaches fast. 75 milligrams twice a day is really, really good. So yes, I will, Mr. Stacy, I will remind you. Butterbur is an interesting one because we don't think about it. Even me, as bringing this kind of stuff to the office, I want to make sure I have more of it available. One reason you all know I love doing these podcasts and videos is because I learned just as much. Butterbird's one of the big hitters. We should have that because it's not so much pain can be released if we can get these sinuses feeling good. Turmeric and ginger, or I'm sorry, this is turmeric and with curcumin. Remember the curcuminoids? Curcuminoids are what you have to have to make it powerful, because the curcuminoids are found in black pepper. So turmeric is really good. Turmeric with black pepper is like 1,000% better. So potent, it's a huge anti-inflammatory that thins the mucuses and opens the passages. You take about 500 to 1,000 milligrams of this high, like turmeric with curcumin, twice daily. So when people think I'm nuts and I tell you got to take 8 a day for the first 3 or 4 days of turmeric, I'm not joking. You have to do that to get what they call a therapeutic dose to make sure it's really going to help you. Eventually, when you've built it up in your system enough, you can start taking 1 or 2 a day. They even say with just taking turmeric, patients say they feel their face lighten up within 48 hours. Bromelain, which bromelain is kind of a cool one. This one is from the pineapple, one of my favorites of all time. It breaks down the thick, sticky mucus, and it helps drain when you have the breakdown. Okay, so the one that I was telling you guys about, the Inflicom, has all 3 or has turmeric, ginger, and that in there. It doesn't have stinging nettle, but we have an all-season one that has that one in there as well. So bromelain it breaks down the thick, sticky mucus, and it allows it to drain better. Reduces swelling in the nasal passages, and you need about 500 milligrams of this 2 to 3 times daily. Okay, and usually they say take that on an empty stomach, which could be true, and it's one of those to remember. Okay, so these are excellent for second tier ones, or ones that I would recommend like almost on a daily basis. So like stinging nettle you could take as, like nature's medicine. You're not going to take stinging nettle all the time. You might not have to, right? But these next second tier ones might allow us to have less and less problems. Our job as holistic people is to say, hey, I got a sinus problem. I need to figure out stuff that works for me, that I don't have to wait until my head's feels like it's gonna explode before I do something about it. That's when medicine and sick care model gets us. It gets us because we wait. And if we could understand what's happening to us, like some of you out there have sinus problems, we need to look for supplements that take sinuses, but that doesn't mean wait until the sinus problem's there. Take it all the time. Okay. So that's where this one is. So Pelargonium. Pelargonium is not, it's a South African herb that you don't really need to know about too much, but Pelargonium is one. Eyebright is a very good one. Eyebright is an old school herbal favorite that people do for runny eyes and all those kind of things. So eyebright's a good one. Elderflower that we talked about before. Elderflower could be a really good one to take as like a preventative, because it has, elderflower, elderberry, some good immune system stuff too. But it's a nice, gentle one. Elderflower, really recommended too for like little kids that are having sinus stuff. When they first get introduced to all the crap that we got in our environment in the world, elderflower is what I would probably go to before some of the bigger ones. And then gentian is another one. Verbena. Some of these different herbs are fantastic, but the biggest ones to focus on is understanding stinging nettle, butterbur, turmeric, ginger, bromelain. All are huge anti-inflammatories that our bodies should have a lot of that in. Okay. All right. So hopefully that was worth your time tonight. I know I just, the sinuses are such a fascinating thing, because if you can find control of that, the amount of your day going better is good, right? So sinus problems, especially if in Michigan, it's one of those situations. So what are we going to do tonight for our 1% tribe? Ooh, Eyebright. Julie, you like Eyebright? Oh, okay. I'm going to start carrying Eyebright, Julie. If you have, Yes. If you have, like a situation, let me know because we can actually order stuff, at the office. But if you have trouble on the screen there, I don't know how this works. I don't know how the internet situation works. If you can just copy this full script address down. Oh, I can put my little thing up in the corner. Hang on. I don't know if that'll work though, but so this QR code up in this corner up here gets you to that full script. If you get on that full script and then type in a lot of times the stuff we talked about, iBright is a fantastic one. I'm glad to know that, Julie, because Butterbur's kind of gross. Some people don't like it very much, but it's a good herb. It's a very, very good herb. So with that said, what we're going to do, make sure that when you start having the sinus issues, maybe getting adjusted prior to, are you a spring sinus person? Are you fall? Are you summer? Whatever it is, whenever that time of year is, maybe that's the time to think about getting your neck adjusted, get checked out for all of those things prior to that season coming, right? I don't want you to wait until it's too late. Do some of those massage techniques. Some of them are very, very nice. I would add possibly, especially if you have sinus issues, your own manual little massage technique each and every morning. Go back and watch my breathing video where it's about the nasal breathing in and out. That would help a lot. You start doing some of this stuff, as part of your daily routine, it can be glorious, especially if you have sinus issues, right? So if you have major sinus all the time, add that to your daily routine, right? That makes sense. Okay, try some of these herbs. Try some stinging nettle tea. Try something, right? But be proactive about it. Make sure. And what's going to hurt you with turmeric, bromelain? Like either one of those are huge anti-inflammatories for the rest of your body, right? So it could be massively important that you do that. Turmeric helps with what? Gut health. It helps with joint health, everything. Bromelain, the same thing. So make sure you go get some awesome supplements when you do it. A lot of these looks like tincture versions would work, I'm sure, but they're a little more gross. So go get, a good herbal supplement. So we have lots of options at the office we can do, or you can go on that full script, right? And then get on that full script situation and get her done, baby. So, and thank you, Rob. Wait, hang on. Let me get on there. Good. I'm glad you like these. These videos are fun for me anyway. All of you know how I am. So I'm going to keep rolling, man. I just enjoy it so much. I really do. It's one of those where, especially when you're learning things in the herbal aspect, not only do I get to talk about chiropractic stuff, but I get to learn new herbs. But a word to all of you, don't let your other loved one, your significant, your friend, don't let him get a sinus headache prior to telling him your knowledge. I would have, if Dr. Rachel was down and out, man. I hadn't seen her that way in a while. We almost started laughing at her because she was so delirious with how painful it was for this headache. She said that was, one of the biggest headache. She's had migraines. And she said that thing. So I feel for those people because to see Rachel hurting like that. Now, when you guys all come in for your, short time frame in the day and you tell me you got a sinus headache, man, I'm going to have some sympathy for you. I definitely am. So with that said, we're going to keep on this mission. I want to know if any of you try stuff and it works. Let me know. Try them all. Try ones at different times and go, man, because Julie told me iBright works very well. So let's start with that one. iBright's one of those second tier, very easy on you, very nice. So we can start there and see what happens. So with that, you guys, check us out Wednesday night as well. So Wednesday night at 8:30, We do Whole Health Weekly, where we go over some different news of the week. And with that said, guys, have a great week. Hopefully get these sinuses cleared up, man. We got this. All right. Don't be showing me your neti pot videos either. All right. Have a good one. Take it easy.